You're now watching the Vision Channel, where Habakkuk 2 and 2 says, write the vision and make it plain, so they that see it can take it and run with it. This is the channel where faith and vision collide to bring forth a manifestation. You're watching the Vision Channel.
I would like to welcome you to our broadcast today on as simplistic as I can. That I'm going to share with you today that God really placed in my heart what God is trying to do in this season. What God is trying to establish and what the enemy is trying to establish. And oftentimes what the enemy establishes, it becomes concrete in the earth. It becomes concrete in the body. With this topic that I'm going to express today. And this is where we have to be careful. And today I'm probably going to explain how things normally correlate spiritually with how the enemy function and how the enemy sees doors as means of access. Because he knows that once he used this door, he has access to everything in your life. Nothing comes through the doors, through a door, except it comes through this door first. So this door invites everything in after it because of it. I'm going to read you a passage of scripture real fast. And we're going to try to tie all this in together. Today I'm going to start in Luke chapter 21 and verse 25. Luke chapter 21 and verse 25. Luke chapter 21 and verse 25. It said, and their signs shall be in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth, distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea, and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the cloud with the power and great glory. And these things begin to come to pass, and look up and lift up your head, for the redemption draw near. Now, I really want to focus on verse 26. Now, I read these other verses so that you'll get an understanding of what God is trying to say, that where we are, we're in the end times. We're in the end times. And I'm going to be reading a lot of scripture, so I want you to kind of stay with me today before I start addressing what I truly desire to address. I'm going to go back and reiterate verse 25. Men's heart failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven will be shaken. Now, for me to explain that, when it comes to scriptures, I want you to try to get an idea and an understanding. It says men's hearts fail because of fear, failing them because of fear, because what is coming upon the earth. There are things that will happen and transpire in the earth. And because was taking place, and the heavens shall be shaken. The heaven shall be shaken. There are so many things and so many scriptures that are coming to my mind about it. But the biggest door that opens that will allow everything else to transpire and take place is this one door called fear. And I'll go back 3 years ago. What took place in Wuhan, China was a pandemic. It was something called a coronavirus. And the coronavirus, it goes right along with these things that we are saying. If I had taken you to Matthew chapter 24 and verse 6, it said there will be wars and rumors of wars. It said there will be pestilence, famines, earthquakes in various places in the earth in Matthew chapter 24. And I want you to see the sign of times. The sign of times. And everything that you see today, famines, wars and rumors of wars, pestilence, pestilence or diseases. So what the country faces, our country, our civilization, where we live right now in the United States, what we are facing is a recession. That's a famine. Like in the 1900s, they had a Great Depression. Fear came in because of lack of resources, because what's coming in the earth. So the reason that the enemy will attack the resources of the United States, because when he does that, it will get people to compromise. And people will fear where they have no faith, but their faith is attached in their money. First thing that he attacks is the economy, so that people can go into a state of fear because their trust is not in God. Their trust is in the resources that the United States carry. So he attacks the economy so that fear can come in. So when the pandemic came, this coronavirus that was established, and when it went and shed abroad, the first thing that happened, fear came in. The spirit of fear. Death cannot come until fear is introduced first. You have to have a fear of something. So anytime you have a fear of something, if the doctor tells you that you're not going to make it, the first thing that transpires and takes place, that the spirit of fear takes precedence over your life. So when fear comes, death can enter. Death cannot come. It doesn't have access until you become afraid, until you fear. So what happens is the enemy will release something in the earth, pandemics, recessions. He'll attack the earth by releasing things in the earth to have people to function out of fear. So if you're functioning out of fear based on what's coming in earth, it said men's heart will fail because of fear. It's failing them. Their hearts are failing. And it's the man's responsibility to protect the house, to protect the home, to protect the family, to protect the children. It's our responsibility. So if men's heart fell because of fear, see, one of the reasons that we faint, can I give you a precursor, a prerequisite? Can I give you one of the prerequisites that's attached to fear? The Bible says that we should pray and not faint. So fainting is a sign that you have not prayed, because fear has now taken precedence over your life. So anytime you can feel fear in an environment, fear in an atmosphere, fear that's coming to the earth, one of the prerequisites to fear is the answer is prayer. That we should pray, and men should pray and not to faint. As a matter of fact, in Luke chapter 18, verse 1, and he said, he spake a parable unto them unto this end, that men are not to faint. He said men are to pray and not to faint. So wherever you see signs of men's heart failing, it's only the absence of prayer. And God is trying to realign men and women back and put them back in a position so that it doesn't matter what comes in the earth. You're already prepared and you're in position because you have the power to pray. This is why in 1 John chapter 15 and verse 14 it says, it gives you the answer. Chapter 15, John chapter 5, 1 John chapter 5 and verse 14 says, and this is the confidence that we have in him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hear us. And if we know that he hear us, then we have the petition that we desire of him. So it doesn't matter. So when we find things that are coming in the earth, that are taking place in the earth, when they're saying there's already going to be a second pandemic, how do they know that? How do you know there's going to be a second pandemic unless it's created? You already have a vaccine waiting for the pandemic that you're going to create. You don't know when, you don't know where, but you know that a pandemic is going to take place. Do you know they can identify? I want you to see this. Please see this. I want you to see what I'm getting ready to say. How did they know that there was going to be a first pandemic? How did they know? Our presidents, go back and do research. It's written all over social media. It's written all over YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. How did they know that there was going to be a pandemic? How did they know? I want you to hear what I'm saying. They knew that there would be a pandemic, but the pandemic didn't come from bats. How did they know that there was going to be a pandemic? Because they knew what was getting ready to come on the earth. Watch this. And they are not prophets. Many of them don't even have a relationship with God. So how did they know that they said that there would be a pandemic? And they would try to create a serum that would not work in the medical field. How did they know? And men's heart would fail because of what was taking place in the earth. And I want you to hear this. Pestilence, a disease. This is what it said in Matthew chapter 24. Pestilence are sicknesses, diseases. This is what it is. It's a disease. So this thing came upon the earth and men's heart failed. This is the reason why we had to wear masks. Because of the pandemic. And people felt that if they didn't have a mask that they would die. And fear came in their hearts. And this is when the spirit of death would come. It took out the lives of many people because when they contracted the virus, they didn't think that they would live. And their respiratory system shut down. Because fear came in, and when fear came in, then death came in. Because fear becomes the door that's open that every other spirit has to come in. So fear comes first. But what we are experiencing with famines, pestilence, wars and rumors of wars, earthquake in diverse places, where seas are drying up. Seas are now coming in the desert. This is all prophecy, but the prophecy is being revealed that the heavens are being shaken. And when the heavens are shaken, this is what God is trying to tell you, that there is a return that's coming. The return of Christ is coming. So we have to be in position and place because fear is coming into the earth and men's hearts are failing. I want you to hear me what I'm saying today. In 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7, it said, for God has not given us the spirit of fear. So just because, I want you to see this, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. I'm going to break the power, love, and a sound mind down. So it said God has not given us this spirit. So where did the spirit come from? So it's not a natural reaction. It's not a natural response. I'm going to say this to you, and I want you to hear this, okay? I'm probably going to start when you were born. When you were born, a child, if something or someone happens to scare a child, whether with a mask or something of that nature, all of a sudden they become intimidated. Intimidation is a sign that you fear. That child growing up will fear clowns because someone scared them with a clown mask. They will fear dogs because the second that they see the dog or the dog barked or tried to bite them, now they will be intimidated by dogs all of their life. There are things that transpire and take place in your childhood to where naturally your scientists will say, medical scientists will say, these are phobias. It's not a phobia, please. How do you be claustrophobic to where you can't be in certain places? How can you have a fear of heights? I want you to hear this, please. How can you have a panic attack? This is anxiety. See, these are symptoms and signs of fear. I want you to hear this. When you have a panic attack is a sign that you carry the spirit of fear. The second you start responding because of the environment or condition, it has nothing to do with medical science. This is now the spirit itself manifesting. When you lose it because of the fear of heights, you are manifesting. The spirit itself is now manifesting. There's a manifestation that's taking place, and you're responding, and people are saying, bring them back down because they're afraid of heights. No, it's the spirit of fear that's manifesting, that's in that body. It's not what you think. It's not a natural response. These spirits have been resting until the event or the day that will take place, that it will manifest itself in a person. And when the event goes away, when they bring the person down, or when the dog leaves, God was just revealing unto us that this spirit had been there. It's been hiding the entire time. He said, I didn't give you that spirit. So if he didn't give you a spirit, I have not given you the spirit of fear. So if God haven't given it to us, then who gave it to us? Where did it come from? If it's residing and abiding in you, where is it? See, in the book of Joshua, in Joshua chapter 1, the Bible said that God had to tell Joshua, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, thou and all these people, into the land which I swore unto them, which I swore unto their fathers, even the children of Israel. God is telling him this, and this is what God said, have not I commanded you? Be strong and be very courageous until the place where I told. Have not I commanded? And God had to explain this 3 times because the spirit of fear was trying to take credence, trying to take a hold over Joshua's life. Because when fear comes, the assignment is dead. Let me explain this to you, please. Faith is not the absence of fear. I know we have been taught that faith kills fear, or faith is the opposite of fear. What allows fears to stay is ignorance. It's ignorance. It's not faith. It's ignorance. It's knowledge. Because you don't have the knowledge that you need. This is why you're fear. This is why. Because we want to know the outcome. As long as we know the outcome, we're cool. But when you don't know the outcome, this is where fear comes in. You don't know what the doctor's report going to say. You don't know if the job going to lay you off tomorrow. You don't know if you're going to get a divorce. You don't know if the child going to live. You don't know if you're going to get in a car accident. You don't know if your bills are going to be paid. So it's the outcome. It's what you don't know that causes the spirit of fear to come in. It's the outcome. And because you don't know, fear creeps in. Fear comes in. So when fear comes, watch this. It said, for I have not given you the spirit of fear, but I've given you power, love, and a sound mind. And I want you to hear this. Power. So where there's fear, there's no power. So where there's no fear, there's no love. So where there's fear, there's no sound mind. So this is why, because there's no outcome, because you don't know the knowledge, you don't have the revelation or the understanding of God. When fear comes in, so the absence of fear is not faith. The absence of fear is that you don't know, you don't have the knowledge. So we are destroyed, as Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6 say, without the lack of knowledge, we're destroyed. So watch this. So when fear comes, now the thief can come. The thief, according to John chapter 10, verse 10, the thief cometh not but to steal, kill, and destroy. His pedigree only, watch, is only established where he see fear. And I want you to understand this. I want you to hear me. They say dogs can smell fear. They know when a person is afraid, so they approach him. They're only attacked when they can smell it. Watch this. But how can they smell fear? They can't smell fear. They just sense the spirit. Listen, you can blow a whistle, and a dog can hear at a frequency that you can't hear. So if a dog can hear frequency sounds that are beyond human comprehension, they can also sense the spirit of fear. And so